Hello, everyone. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the present perfect, what are past participles, and when to use the present perfect subjunctive and indicative. So let's begin. So to form the present perfect, in English, you need the verb to have plus a past participle. And in Spanish, you need the verb haber más un pasado participio. So in English, past participles are basically the equivalent of the verb ending in ed, as in worked, or en, as in broken. In Spanish, when the verb ends in ado, is the ending for AR verbs, hablado, and ido, the ending for ER and IR verbs, such as leído. Verbs that end in ER and IR, but which stem ends in A, or O, need an accent in the E in the past participle. So for example, the verb caer, notice that the ending of the stem is an A, then in the past participle should be caído, or fallen, creer, creído, or believed, and oír, oído, or heard. Just like English has irregular past participles, Spanish also has some verbs with irregular past participles. So for instance, abrir, abierto, cubrir, cubierto, descubrir, descubierto, decir, dicho, escribir, escrito, hacer, hecho, imprimir, impreso, or imprimido, ir, ido, morir, muerto, poner, puesto, resolver, resuelto, romper, roto, ver, visto, volver, vuelto. So let's take a look at now what are the functions of past participles. First, they act as adjectives. And second, they are part of a verb. When a past participle acts as an adjective, it is placed after the verb estar if it's a condition, or ser if it's a description. So for example, the painting was made in Peru. La pintura fue hecha en Perú. So I'm describing where the painting was made, so as a result I use the verb ser, and it is in the preterite because the painting is already finished. Now notice that the word hecha agrees with the gender of the subject, la pintura. So let's take a look at one more example. The window was broken when I arrived. La ventana estaba rota cuando llegué. So in this case, I'm using the verb estar because I'm giving the condition of how I found the window when I arrived. Notice that the verb estar is using the imperfect because I'm giving a description in the past. And rota agrees in gender and number with the noun. So now let's take a look at past participles as part of a verb. For example, my parents have succeeded in overcoming many difficulties. Mis padres han logrado superar muchas dificultades. So notice that when the past participle is used as part of the verb, it takes the masculine singular form. So now that we know what past participles are and how is the present perfect form, we're going to talk about when do we use it. So all the perfect tenses refer to past actions. And in the case of the present perfect, it means that it's an action that began in the past but continues in the present. And this is perceived by the speaker. So, for example, let's say I woke up this morning at 8 a.m. and it was raining. It is now 3 p.m. in the afternoon and it continues to be raining. So then, from my experience and my perception, the action of raining began at 8 a.m. and continues all day long. So I said in English, it has rained all day long, which is the equivalent of saying, ha llovido todo el día. So now let's take a look at the conjugation of the verb haber when we use it to form the present perfect. So in the form of yo, it will be yo he, tú has, él, ella, usted ha, nosotros hemos, ellas, ellos y ustedes han, followed, of course, by a past participle. So let's take a look at this example. We haven't written a letter to Juan. No le hemos escrito una carta a Juan. So notice that first comes the negation, the word no. Then because Juan is our indirect object, then we place the indirect object pronoun before the verb. Now let's say we want to replace la carta. So it will be no se la hemos escrito. No comes first, then the indirect object pronoun, which from le is transformed to se, then followed by the direct object pronoun, and lastly, the verb. So now, let's look at how to form the present perfect subjunctive. All you need to do is put the verb haber in the present subjunctive form. Yo haya, tú hayas, él, ella, usted haya, nosotros hayamos, ellos, ellas, ustedes hayan, followed by a past participle. And of course, the same rules that apply to our acronym WEIRDO in the present subjunctives applied in any type of the subjunctive tenses. So for instance, I hope the boy has told the truth. So hope is a verb of influence and expresses desire or wish. I is subject 1 and the boy is subject 2. So the Spanish equivalent will be, espero que el chico haya dicho la verdad. Now notice that has told is also the equivalent of the subjunctive. Now if I say yes, he has told the truth. Sí, él ha dicho la verdad. In this case, because I only have one subject, then I'm going to use the indicative. So remember, have plus a past participle in English could be the equivalent of indicative, for instance, más participio pasado, and subjunctive, haya más participio pasado. So in English, when you want to say that something has just happened, the equivalent in Spanish, it will be acabar de. So for example, the conceited man has just announced his good fortune. In Spanish, it will be el vanidoso acaba de anunciar su nueva fortuna. So notice that has just announced is the equivalent of acabar de anunciar. Now, anunciar is in the infinitive because it goes after the preposition de, and acaba agrees with the subject. So in summary, first, the present perfect indicates an action that began in the past and continues into the present from the perspective of the speaker. Second, past participles, when they are placed after ser or estar, act as adjectives, and they agree in both gender and number. And when they are placed after the verb haber, they act as verbs, and they are singular, masculine form. Next, present perfect subjunctive follows exactly the same rules as our weirdo acronym. And when we want to express that something has just happened, we use acabar de plus the verb in infinitive. And that's it for today.